Hey guys, have you ever been confused about tax brackets? What do they mean? What do the percentages mean? How do these income levels all play together? Well, rest assured that by the end of this video, you are going to know not only what they are, how they work, and how they affect your personal income taxes. So let's get started. As always, check the timestamps in the timeline. That way you can skip to what matters to you, avoid the stuff that you already know. And if you don't know me, I am Thomas Knapp. This is Financial Empowerment, and today we're empowering you with tax brackets. And if you want more information about how to pay for college, or how to manage your money, or building wealth, that's what this channel is all about, so feel free to subscribe. First of all, I'd like to affirm that if you are confused by tax brackets, that's totally okay, especially if nobody's ever taken the time to explain them to you, because well, how are you supposed to learn something if no one's there to teach you? So that's what I'm doing today. The good news is, once somebody takes the time to explain them to you, they are actually quite simple. If you were to just Google tax brackets and maybe tax brackets in the current year, you'll get the most up-to-date version of what the tax bracket rates are. So just go ahead and you'll find something that looks like this. So the first column on the left is usually the percentage called the tax rate. This is basically the percentage of your income that the IRS wants you to pay them in taxes. The next column over is usually single individual filers. Now this is referencing anybody who is not married. The government doesn't really care if you're in a committed dating relationship. You're either married or you're not married in their eyes. So that's how you get into this category. If you're single but almost married, even if you're engaged, still look at the single filings in this category. The next column over is either going to say married filing separately or married filing jointly, or it could also be head of household. It depends on which website you're looking at. So if you are married, you have two choices in how you want to file your taxes. You can either file them jointly, which means you and your spouse file one tax return and you do it together. You report both your income on the same tax return filing. Or you could basically still treat yourselves as individuals, so even though you are married, you will file separate tax returns and keep your finances, as far as taxes go, completely separate. Depending on your financial situation, there may be a reason why you may choose to file married jointly or file married separately, and that kind of depends on your specific tax situation, so you probably want to talk to a tax professional. I do want to clarify that this video is not tax advice. I am not a tax advisor. I'm not a CPA, so this is just overview tax bracket information in this video. The key is to know which category you're in so you know which column to look at. You may also be what's called head of household. Head of household is a little bit more confusing because there are more criteria and restrictions for how you become head of household. Number one, you have to pay more than half of the overall household expenses for where you're living. You have to be considered unmarried for that tax year, and you must have a qualifying child or dependent. The details of head of household are a little bit beyond the scope of this video specifically, but you can do a little more research into that if you think that you are a head of household, because you can lower your tax burden. That's what they refer to, how much you owe in taxes. You can lower that amount if you are head of household compared to filing as an individual. So once you figure out which category you are in, just ignore the other columns because they don't mean anything to you. Since most of my audience is younger, because that's who I'm targeting this information to, we're going to start with an example from the single individual filing example. So if you made $9,875 or less, then you're going to be taxed at that amount at 10%. So if you made up to that amount, then your tax would be $987.50. Pretty straightforward. Now, if you make more than that, but less than $40,125, that puts you into the 12% tax bracket. Now, this is where things can go a little awry, so pay attention closely here. You only pay the 12% on everything you made in that section of your income. So all the money you made up from $0 to the $9,875, that's still only taxed at 10%. Everything you made above $9,875 and less than the $40,125, that's what's taxed at 12%. You don't tax all of it at 12%, just what's in that tax bracket. So why does that matter? When I was younger, I used to think that the whole amount was taxed at that higher level. So I thought if I made, say, $30,000, all $30,000 was taxed at 12%. So it made me concerned when I was reaching the next, getting close in income to the next tax bracket level, because I thought, well, I'm in the 12% tax bracket now. If I move up and I get a raise and it puts me into that next tax bracket, now all of my income's being taxed at 22% as opposed to 12%. And it made me think like, oh, is it better to not get a raise? Maybe I should stay in this tax bracket And that's not really how it works at all. Definitely always try to get raises, always try to increase your income, because it's only the next dollar that's taxed at the higher bracket. Only that amount gets taxed at the 22%, not the whole thing. So does that make sense? Are you still with me? Go ahead and comment, I got it, if you're still with me. Now, one last example, if you're married filing jointly, basically those tax brackets double until you get into some of the higher tax brackets. So now instead of the 10% only being $9,875, it's now $19,760. Everything under that amount is taxed at 10%. And now the 12% tax bracket goes all the way up to $80,250. So you and your spouse combined income can be all the way up to that high, and you won't have to pay any more than 12% in taxes. Now, if you do find yourself in the 24% or 35% tax categories and the rest of the top end of your income is being taxed at those higher levels, go ahead and put a comment of what you do. Some of our other members might be interested in knowing that as they're trying to prepare for college. So to break it down, first you have to figure out which column am I in. Am I single? Am I married filing jointly? Am I married filing separately? Or am I head of household? Figure out which column you're in and just focus on that column. Ignore everything else. Then you're gonna have to figure out what gross income you have, and that's gonna help figure out which category you reach, which threshold you're in, and that's how you get a good estimate of your taxes. One more thing to keep in mind, and we're not gonna go into the details, but that estimated number that you've just calculated is more than you're gonna ever actually owe in taxes, and the reason for that is because of deductions. Now, you can either take what is called the standard deduction, and that means you just take your gross income for the year and you subtract a predetermined amount. Currently, if you're married filing jointly, that's $24,800 as a deduction. So that means you add up all your gross income for the year and you subtract $24,800, and you're only gonna be taxed on that amount of money instead of everything that you made. That's how tax deductions work, but that's a whole nother video. I'm gonna go ahead and put some links in the description to like tax estimate calculators that can give you, again, maybe a more specific look at your taxes, because they'll calculate all these different tax brackets for you. They just have a few questions because they'll need to know what your gross income is and things like that. But there are different resources with calculators. I'll link at least one in the description for you. So there you have it, tax brackets. Now you don't have to feel like the odd man or the odd woman out when somebody brings up the topic. Probably not something you're gonna bring up at the next dinner party, but it is solid tax information all the same. If there's anything about tax brackets you're still confused about or didn't quite understand, go ahead and put that in the comments. I will try to check those as best I can and respond to them and help you answer any questions that you do have about tax brackets. And again, I am not a tax professional, so nothing in this video is intended to be tax advice. You need to seek a tax professional for actual tax filing advice or to have somebody file your taxes for you. If you benefited from this video, please give us a thumbs up, and if you want to check out some of our other videos here or our playlist, or you can even just go straight to the channel, you could subscribe to get more information on managing your money, tax information, building wealth, and how to pay for college without those student loans. Remember, money management is a mindset. Stay empowered, and we will see you next time.